Wow, welcome everybody. And we're going to run through some introductions because we're doing this a little different this time. So, my name is Sam, for most people who listen know. But we're back here with Dr. Kenny for the second time. And this is the first time when I've been running it, we've had someone return, be the top recruiter once again. But to mix it up, and because we're having the method later today, we're here early on a Monday morning. But we're doing the method later, and so we have Dr. Kenny bring in some of the key people that are driving growth on his team. And there's a lot of people. I mean, we could have filled the room. We would have loved to, but it don't have that many mics. So I want to run through real quick, and Dr. Kenny, Brandon, Mike, just give a quick introduction as, your name, where you're from, and how long, when you got into the NSC business. Maybe also a little bit of your background, like outside of that.
Yes, I'm Dr. Kenny Harless. I formerly was a chiropractor, no longer practice. I grew up in a small little town called Cross Lanes, West Virginia. Had a life-altering experience with chiropractic right when I was around 19 to 20. It changed my life. I went to become one, learned about the body, and I went down different rabbit holes. I had family that were close to me and friends that had gotten sick with things like cancer and all kinds of things, like children. And it really made me look at things differently. And I went down this whole rabbit hole and thought it was inflammation for the longest time until I found this. And it's been an absolute game changer. I started taking, I think the product August Fit, Sam. Within 2 hours, because I understood fasting what it was doing, I was peeing like a racehorse. I'm like, this stuff's awesome. I call Anne Marie, I said, I'm all in what I got to do. And that was that. And I got my mom on it first. I had a patient take it. It was a fire patient, and just saw results ago. People, humble calls, and hundreds of people reversing insulin resistance, diabetes, all these things. And I was like, this is gold. And so just didn't even know what I was doing, just kind of following your guidance and other people's guidance. I was passionate on fire, and met Mike, and I knew Brandon's mother, and just kind of reached out to some of these people, and one thing led to the next, and the products speak for themselves. And as we get a little better every day, then we just keep growing those things. So
the results are showing. So Brandon, tell us a little more than about you.
Yeah, so I'm Brandon. I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm 31. So I got on the protocol about 6 months. It's be about 6 months, but I got in the business with my mom. So I got in there first, and I just got her the partner now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible to do it together. But I'm down about 70 pounds right now, and it's only been 6 months. So it's pretty insane. And what it does for the mental state is really where it got me, because I was in a depressed state. I was having bad anxiety, and I couldn't even tie my shoes because I just had the big belly. I couldn't move around very much. And I couldn't get out of bed, man. I didn't have the courage to keep going, kind of lost hope, if you will. But it's really done wonders for my mental state. And just the business part has been really incredible too, because I get to do it with my mom. We're building a business to help people as well, It's crazy because normally businesses, you just work, you go to work and you go home. You don't help other people. You build a house. So I'm an electrician by trade. I've been doing electrical for like 12 years. And then you see the result at the end. But this, you change your life, you're helping other people change their lives, and then we're building a community that's it's expanding really, really well. It's incredible, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, the ripple effect that you see here in NSC is, you just don't see it most other places. It's not like you can go, do the electrician work for a home, and then the person saw it and it's like, man, I'm inspired right now. We could do the electrician work for my neighbor. You don't get that. So you get a happy customer, but they don't spread that in the same way.
Right.
Maybe you get a referral, but no one's adopting it. And so it's a special thing where you start to help people, and they're like, well, now I can help people.
Right. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
it definitely helps, right?
Yeah. So then Mike.
Yeah, so you're on Mike with Mike. Yeah. Mike Butcher, I'm from Loveland, Colorado. Been in the financial service industry for over 29 years. So, I got into that industry to help people. Got introduced to this product and the protocol back in August, just like you, Dr. Kenny. And, for me, I just turned 50. So it was more for my metabolic health. I was doing all the right things, everything that you're supposed to be doing, exercising, staying active. But you get a metabolic panel that says that your triglycerides are high, your HDL is low. You start to pay attention to that. I've got 3 grandkids now that I want to be around for. So got on the protocol, lost 32 pounds, triglycerides come down 140 points, HDL is going up. So now I know I'm moving in the right direction. And
And you got a 6-pack back.
Had that back to my 20s.
But the exciting thing is that I finally and part of something that you can actually reach out and help people, and you know that it's going to make a difference. So it's exciting, just like Brandon said. The community is amazing, and I'm glad to be here as well.
Yeah, being able to depend on what the products will do for someone makes all the difference, right? Because it's not, you don't want it to be like playing roulette. I mean, we're here in Vegas, and you're like, okay, 50% chance this is going to do a benefit. No, it's like, okay, I know if they use this right, I know.
It's 100 or 0. The only way it's a 0 is if they don't open the box. Like, that's what it doesn't want. I mean, like, literally, it's like, it's.
Yeah, I mean, what were you saying about your sister just earlier?
Oh, yeah. So one of my, I get touchy about this, but one of my friends I went to chiropractic college with, I had no idea how bad she was. And she had diagnosed with Lyme's disease like 6 years ago. She actually had it, she feels, when she was around 19, chronically fatigued, like couldn't sleep, would go to bed at 11 o'clock, she would lay there till 2 and like sleep maybe 3 hours. And she was like, Doc Kenny, she's like, I'm drinking 6 to 8 Pepsis a day. And she's like, I couldn't get energy. I couldn't drink coffee because we had heart palpitations. And as a chiropractor, you have to use your hands. Well, she couldn't use her hands anymore. So she was using an instrument. Her hands, she said it was like a horse was stepping her hands and her feet. And so she was in between patients. I was running to the bathroom, turning on hot water to put my hands on her so that I could use my hands. And she goes, she has 5 kids. And she goes, I wrote goodbye letters to my kids because I thought I was going to die. And in 1 month, like her hope, she's like, I cook now for my kids every day. I just did 7 inches of snow that I removed in my driveway. She's like, this is in 1 month. She's had to touch coffee. I haven't had a Pepsi. She's like, my energy's incredible. And you're going to be hearing from this woman. I mean, it's moving. It really is. And then my cousin, it was funny. She gave me a lot of crap, Sam. She was seeing all my videos. My mom reaches out to her. She reaches out to me, and she kind of got snippy with me. And I said, well, look, we have a 90-day money-back guarantee. You called me. I didn't call you. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, but like you called me, right? You know, she was like, yeah. And I said, look, just give it a shot. I said to do it. Open the box to do it. I know what you've been told, and what you're doing isn't working. So if you want different results, you're going to have to do different things. 1 week, she's down. It was 7 or 10 pounds as a type 1 diabetic. Reduced insulin 62% in 1 week. She's down 21 pounds in like 3.5 weeks. And she just did this whole testimony for me. And she's, I'm not a distributor. I'm not a partner. I make nothing from this. I just want to help people. And she's, I can't wait for my endocrinologist to see my panel. So it's crazy. Stuff is like, I have been pitched. I used to see, at one time I was almost seeing 1,000 people in my clinic a week by myself, 300 something a day. I've seen so many things, been pitched so many things, and I, honest to God, have never seen them like this. I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah, and we could go on. We could share story after story after story talking about it. But a lot of people who are going to listen to this are very curious about, well, what are you three, right? What is this group doing on the business side? Because you're growing super fast and just picking up speed, which I think I'm expecting to see it more and more as we roll down. And so, I mean, like for you, Dr. Kenny, in the last couple months, because it's been about 2 months since we talked, which was a little less actually, but what have you started doing differently even from then? Like, what are the new things that you're like, oh, I wish I'd known this at the beginning, but now that I know it, this is what how I'm working it.
It's how I'm reaching out to people. It's all about inviting. I'm literally using the scripts that you said. I mean, they work. And so I don't know. I've always been good at copying success. Like when I was in practice, my mentor, he built a very big practice. Took him 7 years, took me 6 months. It's not that I'm smarter. I just put to work his systems, right? And that's what I did with you. And I'm like, dude, this psychologically makes sense. You know, you're doing a takeaway to start. You're giving a snippet of what it is. And what I do is I have a thing called Project Broadcast. So it sends out messages, right? But it looks like it's coming from me. So I get the responses back, Sam. So it might say something like, I'm down 7 pounds in my first week. And I send them back, this is amazing, right? By the way, I'm not sure if this is for you or not. Would you be open to looking at what I'm doing? You obviously know this product works. Your family and friends are noticing. Would you like to look at what I'm doing and how I'm helping others duplicate this? We have an opportunity call this Thursday. And so I'm driving everybody to the calls, right? And then we're doing massive onboardings on Saturday. The more people you see, the more belief system that's there, right? The more people will see that. People are tribal, right? My mentor, Bob, would always say, if you don't know what to think, don't follow the 5 people going, or 95 people going this way, follow the 5 going that way, right? Because the M is always silent masses. So when you get people around like that, their belief is built, right? And so it's not you and I telling them, right? Because when we love people, they won't listen. Mike's been doing something similar for years. We have been hit with so many no's in life, right? And I'm okay with that. So if I can get them to the call and they're seeing 4, 5, 600,000 people also going, hey, guess what? Duh, have you seen results? Hey, do you have 10 customers? Duh. It's like game changer. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching everybody on my team how to do this.
So then, Brandon, from the flip side, right, being someone that is learning how to do this from Dr. Kenny people, what has that experience been like of like getting on board and starting to like implement it? And
Right. It's been really incredible. I mean, I'm an electrician, so I didn't come from the medical field. So I'm retaining all the knowledge. I'm listening. You know, I don't have my earmuffs on. And I'm listening to everything. I'm just sitting back. I'm doing the work. I'm being consistent. And I'm just trying to be a better person every day. You know, if I'm 1% better than I was yesterday, I'm improving. And if I'm getting better, I'm helping people. And if we're helping people, we're growing. So that's basically what I've been doing.
Yeah. But what I will say, right, is like when I came into this, I just told Anne Marie, I said, tell me what I got to do. Trent, tell me what I got to do. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what they're doing, right? Like if you just do what works, right? Yeah, you'll get better faster. Yeah. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already working.
yeah, you underrate. I think it's important also for people to see the whole picture here, right? Because one side of it is that, okay, here's the steps, follow them. But the other side of it is everything you're bringing into this background, right? Like when your first day, Dr. Kenny, you've done years of work on the public speaking, on this, which Brandon hadn't yet had time to do and develop that. And so I've had people who I think maybe get a little envious. They've been working their NSC business for more than a year, and they see someone like Dr. Kenny come in, and in 5 months, blow past them. And Trent gave a great analogy last night at dinner where he's like, it's kind of like you're going to the gym every single day. You've been at that gym every day for a year, right? You've made progress, but then one day this guy comes in who used to play for the Raiders and walks into the gym and he's putting up, twice as much on the bench press as you have. And you're like, what the heck, man? You haven't been here once in the last year. I've been here every single day. This isn't fair. It's like, no, right? You're just missing that picture. And so that same thing happens in this business. And it's rather than be like, oh, I'm frustrated this person's taking it on sooner. It's like, well, they put in a ton of work before. That's awesome. Now what can I learn as to how they're applying those steps differently than the way I'm applying these steps, right? And speed up my learning growth.
It's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? I mean, like today I was up at 2:30 in the morning because I'm on West Coast time. Mm-hmm. So I'm up every 4:30 in the morning every day studying. It doesn't happen by accident. Like people think that, and they look. It's like looking at LeBron James on television, right? They only see 2 hours of a game, but they don't see the Michael Jordan practicing 16 hours a day, right? So it's not reality, right?
Yeah. So and Mike, we met on a layover in Colorado, got to meet, and you were saying how this is really not your first foot into this industry, right? You've gotten some experience, and I'm really curious where you've seen the differences, right, from what you've been working on with Unicity versus the things you've worked on in the past.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, I've had some experiences, and they've all honestly they've been good because the industry is amazing. When you're helping people, that's doing good work. But from the previous businesses to this one, I would say the system and what's put in place for people to succeed. Like you were saying, Dr. Kenny, you just got to follow what the people are doing in front of you. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just do it. I come from a background where I just had to do it, so I had to figure out the wheel. And so being humble enough to just sit back and say, all right, these guys are winning. They're doing it the right way. Just follow it. Don't ask questions. And if you do it long enough, you'll get the results. It's just the repetition.
Yeah. And if you ask some questions and it's like, okay, how can I do this better? Right? Or you're going to the people who are rolling this mech 8. What can we do to make this more effective? Because we don't ever want to get to a place where like, okay, we figured this out. All right. I mean, with how we run the business, with how we grow our teams, or with the products, like on the company side, we're always looking at, these amazing products we have. We're like, okay, how can we make it better? Like, we're way ahead of the competition. How can we get further? Like, let's pull that lead even further ahead. And if you're not doing that, then one day you wake up and There's an Elon Musk. Yeah, you're fast five. There's an Elon Musk. It's like, oh, sorry.
Right. Well, it's like one of my mentors, he would say, always be grateful, but never be satisfied. Right? Because it's the dissatisfaction that makes you grow. And if you're just willing to take enough no's, it's going to be like a 5-year-old kid, right? No means Canada, how? You got grandkids. They eat your lunch, right? And that's just the way you just get a little better. You figure out how do I position this, right? And if you come from the place of, I'm trying to help you instead of I'm trying to sell you, right? Like, I'm never trying to sell them. I'm trying to give them so much value that they're like, I have to work with this guy. You know what I mean? And John Cox says something that was beautiful. He goes, if you need them, you can't lead them. And when you come from that certainty, like this product gives you that certainty, right? And if you're around it enough, if you come to the calls, and this is why I drive the calls, guys. If we get people on those calls, if you're a customer of mine, right, and I'm going to have you on that science call, I'm going to be on that call, right? Well, if I'm on that call, I'm hearing it again, like Mike said. So the more I hear it, the more I become it, right? The Bible tells you, right? Your words create your world. How are you talking to yourself, right? Are you asking the question, how can I get better? Or are you focusing on what's wrong? I don't compare myself to anybody else. That is the worst thing you can ever do. I compare myself to yesterday. Am I better than I was yesterday? If I am, I did my work that day. But I don't it's not fair to go to somebody like a Trent or a Raph or your dad that built this monster and compare myself to them. That's stupid. I'm using that law against myself, right? So, I might like things that they say and try to incorporate that into who I am, but I'm not trying to compare myself with them.
Yeah.
I think it's a big.
Oh, yeah.
There's an analogy too. They took a court, like somebody, I saw this, I don't remember where I got this. They said this, they were like, sometimes your circle needs to shrink to increase your value, right? So if you look at a nickel, it's bigger in size than a dime, but a dime's worth more, right? And that's another big thing. I'm very restrictive in my circle. Like even my own family try to restrict me. And I'm very I love them. I don't divorce them. I just see them less and stay less. And I learned that through my mentor. And it's just, you have to pick and choose, right, who you're letting into your circle. It's very important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're seeing that over and over again, right? We saw it when Elon purchased Twitter. And he's like, okay, I can do more with 20% of the people here. Because they're the ones that are committed, they're sharp, they're hungry.
20%, right?
And we're seeing it right now in the government. All right. Like, I don't know how much you guys are on X. I'm on it probably too much. But right, this whole letter they sent out to every single federal employee saying, hey, just type resign, click send, and you get 8 months severance. All right. We're giving you the best severance package we've ever offered. And we're doing it hoping that 10% of the employees in the federal government, like 30,000 employees, will just resign because that's a way to self-eliminate, right? And hey, these people would rather get 8 months of pay than be involved with this administration. And so we know that we can do more without that 10% of the workforce. And I think we see that all the time where it's very easy in our business to fall into this. Like there's two sides to it. One of it is like, hey, I want everyone I can on my team, right? Because it's better with them on my team than not. And that's fine. Like, it could be true because they're not your employees. It's like, hey, if something doesn't work, all right, I'm not worried about it, right? It's not costing me money. Yeah. It's their business. But the other side is you have to be able to say, well, it's not my job to make sure everyone on my team wins, right? My job is to give them all the tools, and then they have to use the tools, right? Because I ran in training a new electrician. It's like, I can teach you all the knowledge, set you up, but I can't come and like babysit sit through. Yeah.
Sam, I had an 88-year young lady in practice, and I loved this woman. Her name was Mary, right? And I saw her for 10 years. She lived to be 98. And she had 2 husbands that could not keep up with her. Okay, a boyfriend 30 years younger. I'm serious when I tell you this, right? She was a card, right? And one day I was so irritated, because what I used to try and do is change people. All I want to do now is expose people. I just want to see who they are, right? And then I sift them. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to change them. I just want to know who you are, and then I know if I want to be with you and help you or not or whatever, and that's totally fine, right? And so she says to me, she goes, you care too much. And I was like, yeah. She's no. That makes you great at what you do, but you can't care what people think. And she says, you're going to realize when you raise kids, the kids are going to do certain things, and if you allow them and you pour everything you can into your team, right, your kids, and they go this way, you know what's going to happen. If they go that way, you know what's going to happen. But you got to let them choose, and then they'll come back. And she says, you're not responsible to them.
Yeah.
You're responsible, right? For them, excuse me. You're responsible to them. You're responsible to put everything you can to every person. What they do with it is up to them, right? And when I let go of that, as they say, let God, everything changes, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's nature. I didn't hear you guys working with fruit trees before. You're lucky. My grandma growing up on my mom's side had an apple orchard, and like, I hated that apple orchard. I mean, they got rid of it when I was like 12, so that was great. But before then, right, it'd be like you'd go and you'd be picking apples all day long. And when you're like 10 years old, basket of apples is super heavy. Where you like got it on your chest, you're climbing up the ladders, filling it up, right, going and sorting apples, making applesauce for days. But the pruning is the most interesting thing about that, right? You've got all these apple trees, all right, and in order to get the maximum amount of fruit from the tree, you got to clip off like half the branches on a tree. You know, and it looks like a dog after you give it a bath, and it's just like, whoa, that's half the dog I thought I had. All right. But that's what allows it to bring good and bounteous fruit, is getting rid of all these ones. And then you get more branches in time from the good branches. I mean, so it's just like, so it's written into the very nature of how the world works that, yeah, you always got to be looking at my circle, my network, and saying, all right, like I'm growing certain branches and I'm clipping other ones. I don't need to be rude or mean about it, but yeah, it's just restricting how much interference or interaction I'm giving them.
Absolutely. You know, I read a quote and the guy said, any man can count the seeds in the apple, but only God can count the apples in the seeds, right? If you do the math on that, it's insane. But it's like 5 to 8 seeds, you know, in an apple and then that. So are we making our fruit sweet? Is that what God makes fruit, right? It's sweet. So if your message is sweet, they grab it, they carry it, they create another for us. And you won't know if it's 30, 60, 100-fold blessing, right? I mean, it's all written, you know, and you love and you water each one, right? As much. And then sometimes they're going to grow and then other ones aren't. And so you pour in that person while you can, right? But people follow us as leaders, right? So if I'm doing it, they're going to do it. And probably 20% are going to do it.
Yeah.
And I just got to do it. And I just got to do it, and I got to outwork everybody. And if I keep doing that, then you guys see it. I send you some messages in the morning. You're not going to beat me out of that. I'm going to be worried.
Different animals.
So, what else do you got on the West Coast? Hey, I don't know, man.
I'm still waking up later. It might be worse.
And you know, Dr. Cheney, is that our challenge in this business isn't the protocol because it's thorough and it works. It isn't the system because it's well thought out. In how you do it and how you implement it. Our challenge in this business is the person that's doing the business. Are you willing to get out of your comfort zone and grow and challenge yourself every day so that people will follow you? That is that.
It was funny when we were doing the texting, when you introduced me this a couple months ago. I was down in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And I always try to get close to the fire, you know what I mean? Like I fly wherever the people are, you know what I mean? And I've always done that. And, but anyway, we're down there and you're showing this and I'm kind of like, I could feel a little resistance in myself, to be honest with you. I was like, I really like it. And then like, and I know me enough to know that when I feel that resistance, that's exactly what I got to do. And I'm like, it took me a week or two to digest it. I kept thinking about, okay, you know, because maybe you're a Mike and you have charisma and you've done this, right? Or whatever. That's not duplicatable. Right? I've studied this 25 years. That's not duplicatable, right? So what can and I was like, my God, I can teach anybody how to text. I can teach anybody, right? And then you get them a taste of that, right? And they get some success. And there's a quote that I love. And the guy said, a good leader wants people to think highly of them, but a great leader wants the people to think highly of themselves. And if we put those people on the spot and like, we treat dogs better than we treat people, right? I mean, I have dogs and I reward them for doing what I ask them to do. Why do we not do that with other people? You know what I mean? Like, if we just recognize and love people, and what's small to them is huge, right? It might be small to us, but it's huge to them, right? And that's that little seed that starts to sprout, right? And you start to prune it. You start to pull it back. And you start to show, hey, here's the opportunity. You're not seeing it. Everything starts to change, man. It's all belief. Yeah. There was, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I got to find the article. They did a study. It was called The Bloomers. Actually, so you might, okay, Brent?
Last night.
Yeah, okay, last night. This is so fascinating. So they had these kids, and it was out of the Washington Post or Herald or something like that. It was like 2003. I was just opening the practice. And so I had went over to Budapest, and I was there for like 11 days. And I remember I met some LDS members, right? And I was getting ready to open a practice, and I'm scared to death, right? You know what I mean? If I'm going to Michigan, I don't know anybody. I'm from West Virginia. Everybody told me I was crazy, and that's how I know I was doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So, but I'm like, I'm with these young men, and they're giving like $200-300, Sam, right? You know, and dropped off in the country with a couple suits. Good luck, tell the word of God. I'm thinking, if they can do that, I can do that. So, you know what I mean? So I kind of clung on that, right? Well, then I read this article, and they were talking about these kids and how they were called the bloomers. And these children were supposed to be the gained world changers, right? And that's what they told the teachers. Like, teach these kids like you've never taught before. They are going to change the world. So sure enough, the year goes by. These kids test off the charts. And then they ask the teachers, and they go, by the way, those kids, they were never initially tested. The variable was the teachers, the leaders. And I was like, I go, the greatest gift you could ever give someone is the belief in themselves, right? So, and that's what we need to do better as leaders. So,
Yeah. Is one of my favorite quotes is Jim Rohn, right? Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I think that's why a lot of people can quickly fall in love when they come into Unicity and start working on a team, right? And they're making at beginning 10% of what they're making from the normal job. But they love this Unicity thing because they're like, oh, all of a sudden I can do those things at the same time. And I see myself improving while my business grows. Whereas it's like, it's hard. I mean, it's hard as an electrician. It's hard in even right financial planning to be able to like, yeah, I'm spending a lot of time building myself versus making progress in the work. And it's very separate. But here, just it all meshes. You know, like, okay, yeah, it's as I get better, everything gets better.
I took my little girl out a month ago, and this is all, I think seriously, so we, maybe 2 months ago now, and I took her to the gym to lift weights, right? She's 12. My wife was kind of concerned. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to let her get hurt. I'm the nature guy, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I say to her, I said, kids, we're going to go. I said, honey, that's the cave you're afraid to go into. That's the one you need to enter. You know what I mean? That's where you're feeling that angst. That's what you need to go into. So we go, and she's scared. And I said, look, I was 19 going to college. I was so weak I couldn't lift the barbell, basically, on me facetious, you know what I mean? But like, I had to lift them for a bunch of guys. I was like an idiot. I don't want you to feel like that, right? So we go in there, and I'm showing how to do all these things. And there's this guy, he's like, he's freaking stud, right? And I walk over to him, he's into it. I say to my little girl, I say, hey, come here. And I go, I'm going to ask him a question. And I go, hey, brother, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know you're busy. This is my little girl. It's her first day in the gym. He's like, this is amazing. It's like Unicity, right? You're joy of the team, right? You know, all this. And I'm like laughing. And I was like, how long have you been doing this? And he goes, like 30 years. I go, do you just come in here one time a week and, you know, one time a month and work on it? And he goes, are you kidding me? I'm in here 6 days a week. And my daughter's like looking at me like, and I said, Cadence, life is the gym. I said, the only way you build muscle is to fail. And every time you lift until you fail. And if you do that in life and you learn that failure is success, and successful people, non-successful people have one thing in common. They hate to do what it makes to be right to do successful. But the people that are successful do it till it's a habit. And now my little girl loves to go to the gym. She's gotten feedback. But it was because I was leading her to get the feedback, right? And the more aware, as you were saying, we become, the more we can help the people around us become aware, right? And that's how you change people, right? If you inspire, if you become the inspiration, they will want to change. But if you try to force it, my mentor said a long time ago, quit trying to make information provable, make it acceptable. And when I started doing that, his life changed overnight. You know what I mean? So, but I love the gym for that reason is my point. If you learn to push yourself until you can't push yourself, you're always going to win. You know what I mean? So
I exercise on control. So it's comedy, you know what? If you want to stay comfortable, you'll just have to stay where you are. And that's, you know, and so it's a very simple thing. So on that point, I'd love to cover a little bit of the uncomfortable aspects, right, that you guys have run into in doing this, because everyone else is hitting these too. And so maybe what would be fun is to run through like, what is the most annoying objection that you get when you're talking to someone about it? Like, it's like, not that it's the worst one. You might at this point be the point where you're like, okay, it's no big deal. But it's just like the one you get and you roll your eyes. You're like, oh, this is a kid.
Yeah, for me, it's like when I first got started, people would say, oh, it's hard to do. I'm like, it's 2 teas and a fiber drink a day. What do you mean it's hard? You drink water, you drink the tea, you know? And then it got to the point where it's like, and then people would say, well, it's too expensive. I'm like, well, that's the best part, actually, because it's not. It's cost neutral. You know, it's $5 a day. How is it too expensive? You know, you go to breakfast, you get a Fruba Hooba latte, it's $7. So what do you mean it's too expensive? They just don't want to pour it into themselves. Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should. But that's some of the ones that I've gotten so far.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Kane, we were talking at dinner last night of one of the ones that drives me nuts is that it doesn't work. Right? I'm walking proof. I'm right in front of them. I'm walking proof that it works, and they're telling me that it doesn't work. I had a gentleman tell me that, well, I can't get anybody excited about it because they don't know it works. And he's in the insurance industry as well as I was. And so I just asked him a question. I just said, hey, so do you sell massa policies? Because, he does these policies where you guys take a ride in a helicopter and all that, right? Your insurance don't cover it. Yeah. I said, well, do you sell those massa policies to your clients? He said, yeah. I said, have you ever used massa? And he's like, no. I was like, well, then how do you know it works? And he just kind of looked at me like, you jerk. Right. But you put it back on him. Yeah, right. He knows it works because of other testimonies and other people. And that's what we're doing is be the walking proof that it works and then tell other people stories. Right.
Yeah. And this is an important thing because this will happen a lot with people. It's like their network, right? It's the family and friends. They'll be like, how does it work? I'm not wasting my time on that. And the worst thing you can do at that point is be like, hey, I'll just give you a pack. All right. Let me gift you one and use it. Because now it's like, it's almost 95% sure they're going to sit down in the cupboard, come back a little later and like, yeah, it didn't work, man. And like, maybe I've opened one. And so, yeah, it's like, it's right. You either can put it back on them and they're like, okay, they're humble enough to take them. They're all right, I'll put it to the test. Like, yeah, put it to the test. Take your measurements. Like, really check everything. I want you to. The more measurements you take before, the better. And so they do it, or they're just like, no, it doesn't work. And you're like, okay.
If you don't pay for it, right, the more those that pay attention.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the oldest, but it was funny. Like, I mean, when I run into those, it's just like Mike, I just put that back on him. But I'm like, my mentor once said to me, he goes, Kenny, when I was younger, he was like, whenever something really happens, you're like, yay, it's all me. When something goes wrong, I don't hear you say, yay, it's all me. He goes, but aren't you the center of both situations? And I was like, crap. You know what I mean? I was like, he goes, yeah. He goes, when I was going through people and firing people early on, he goes, you hired them, you trained them. And then I was like, dang, and I was like, so it all came back. At first, that was a heavy load, right? Because now I'm responsible. Like, it's not your fault, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, it's me. And I'm like, crap. But then I realized, well, wait a minute, I can control that. I can get better. And so same thing I felt. That's what I tell people. I mean, when people are like, it doesn't work. I'm like, so do you buy a Betty Crocker? And they're like, well, yeah. I go, you probably don't realize you're buying Betty Crocker because Betty gets great results. And I said, Betty has a system. She's got a recipe. And if you leave anything out, the recipe doesn't work. But let's say that you want to ramp that speed up and you put it at 950 degrees for 5 minutes. Will that cake turn out? If it's supposed to be baked at 350 for 30 minutes. So is that Betty's fault or is that yours? We know this works, but the variable is you. And that's okay. It's your life. Yeah. But if you want your life to change, you got to change you. So if you're happy taking your medications and doing your, whatever, go ahead, keep doing it.
Yeah. So what about when you are inviting them to a business opportunity? All right. And so you get a lot of people that say no to the invitation. You have other people that say yeah, and they come to the call, and then they have objections. All right. I know you're facing objections, so you brought in 10 partners or more this month.
I'm really not getting a lot of objections, honestly, anymore. Because when I do my lives and things, I'm building such rapport with people. They know who I am. So if I get it's rare, honestly, truthfully. But it's because what I try and do, Sam, is answer all the questions up front. I've learned that. So if I I design my lives and things I do to answer all questions ahead of time. So if, for instance, I know the questions that are typically coming, oh, nice. I know what to do. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I design it. But I don't usually either sure, I'd love the link, or I don't get a response with those texts. That's about what I get.
Yeah. And so really you're filtering out the objections before they get to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I used to try to get people on calls. I don't do that anymore. I'm constantly civic. I mean, like, so if they ask, if you get a question, right, it's like, well, what is it? What's a chlorogenic acid T in a fiber matrix? Easiest thing I've ever done. It's patented. Like, we have all the numbers. You know what I mean? Would you be open to taking a look? If not, no worries. I always take it away. And if you start, like, I just had a lady join my team, and we were doing 35-minute call with her, and only because I met her through another company, and I knew that she was not going to jump. I said, you know what? I go, look, let's do this. Why don't you guys just take the product? And if it changes your life and you're ready, let me know. I'll be here for you. But I'm busy and I don't have time. I don't have my doors for people.
Well, if you look at that too, Dr. Kenny, and this is my belief, is you're getting no objections because of your conviction. Right. And people, they buy on that, and they see where you're coming from because they know you're convicted. And that's when you can get people's belief up in themselves and what they're talking about, the people that they're around are going to believe it too. So it's absolute 100%. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, it's true in every sense of recruiting, right? The more confident I am as the recruiter that me recruiting you is going to help you win, the easier it is to recruit you, because the people are always gauging that, right? Whether it's a regular job interview and they're like, okay, like, do I think this is actually going to be a winning opportunity for me? Or whether it's this, or whether it's right inviting a girl on a date, like in any case, it's like, hey, the more confident I am, like, hey, this is going to be a good experience, right? It's going to be a win-win. That humans have evolved to be able to pick up on that.
Well, Paul Hutsey was a guy I was studying through Bob Proctor, and he said, if at first you're last, they'll last you're first. And if you just always put people first, right?
Yeah.
They know that. And it's like, if I help you get where you're trying to get, it's going to help me buoy up too. And my mentor always say, he goes, are you going to build a tree house and drop it, the ladder for everybody to come up, or are you going to pull the ladder up? And that's what I love about this business. Like, we're putting the ladder down so everybody can come up.
Yeah.
You know, or people, it's kind of hard sometimes to think for them to get that. You know what I mean? Because they're so used to, if I help perform, then maybe you're going to try and cut my legs out, you know? And I'm like, no. I said, look, the more that I help you, the more I win, the more my family wins, right? The more the families above me win, which is how it should be. I mean, it's so, that's what I ran to a chiropractic. What I was teaching was truth, but that doesn't mean it's accepted, right? Societal acceptance is so deep, right? I mean, we have literally, I'll ask my doctors to join us in medical, in all the medical, you ever seen a drug that has 0 side effects? Doesn't exist. You ever seen a drug that has 90-day money back guarantee? Doesn't happen. I said, well, this isn't a drug, but it's listed by the drugs. And I'm like trying to get them to see, I'm like, what are you worried about? You go through a drive-through and all this garbage is in your food and you're worried about, it's comical, but we've been so conditioned, right, to look at that. I mean, people will take, what do they call the cabinet above your sink in the bathroom? What kind of cabinet is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Right. And the more that's in there, the sicker you are, right? And people have no clue, man. So.
Yeah. And so the other thing I want to point on this, right, is so we've got this truth. It's like, hey, the more confident I am, I can help you, the more able I am to help you, right, and to bring you in and get you on the team, get you going. And so if someone's hearing that, listen to this podcast, and they're like, well, what if I just don't feel very confident right now that I can help with this? Well, then how would you, right, what do you recommend them to do to, okay, let's get going. Oh, do we need a pause? Yeah. Okay, it's for Mike. All right. You got emergency. You got emergency, I guess. All right. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, this is Henry.
All right. Well, hopefully all is well with Mike. But yeah, like what is the advice you'll give to someone who says, like, how do I just get myself more confident that I can help the people? Whether that's on the product side or when I'm bringing someone into the business. Like, I want this person to sign up to win, and I'm not so confident right now in my ability to help them win.
Yeah, so, I mean, I heard a quote by Gino Ariama, my coach at UConn Monday. He said, you don't do a thing till you get it right. You do it till you can't get it wrong. So what I did, I was always hop on the calls with Trent, with Anne-Marie, with Rav. I was always listening to their business because I knew that I heard it enough, it would just incorporate. You know, it's like a song. Yeah. Once you hear a song, you might like it. Like, I like what it says, but I don't know the verbiage, right? I don't know the lyrics. And then the more I hear it, then I start to, okay, I know the lyrics. Then I know the words. Then I can start to dance. And so this is what you've got to do. You've got to immerse yourself in this. And the faster you immerse yourself in something, well, it's like you swinging a hammer. First time you do it, you're probably hitting your thumb, right? You're not going to be very good at it, right? But the more you swing it, now you're eating, you're doing all kinds of stuff you probably shouldn't be doing. It's unconscious, right? And that's what you got to do. You have to dive in, and you got to get around people that are doing it. You want to listen to them, how they present it, what they say, how they handle objections. Do they get objections? Why did they not get objections? Because the better questions you ask, the less objections you get. I want your objections out in the open. as soon as I go. Like immediately, I want another business, and then I just handle them. And once the object is the way, once you remove the object, that's the answer, right? So that's how I handle it. But
Yeah. I think it's spot on. I ran it in the add on.
Yeah, like for me, it was like we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. So as long as we're growing daily and we're leading, by example, everybody's gonna, the whole group will come together as one, because you gotta learn when to follow and learn when to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can wrap this up real quick because it looks like we got to talk to some people. But I just gotta say, yeah, like what you guys are doing is amazing. It's awesome that you came to Vegas for this, and we'll have these great kind of the method. But the big thing is, yeah, it's like, let me go to work. Let me do it. If I'm not super confident that I can help other people do it, I'll like the products and then put it to the test. Let me dive in. Let me put it to work. Let me follow the steps, learn the process, right? Figure out how I can do it better. And next thing you know, I'm like looking at everyone, I was like, yeah, anyone can do this because now I've done it, right? I've seen it on the other side. But thank you.
hang around success, right?
Yeah, hang around success. Exactly, yeah. Go in the fire, right? Get to the next method if you haven't been to the last one.
Absolutely.
But thank you both. And thanks to Mike for being here. And hey, we'll catch you next month.
Later.
See ya.
Thank you.